This session is about negotiation skills. And some of you, most of you have heard my background, obviously. My background in this life, I'm a mental health first aid trainer, and I'm specializing in suicide awareness, mindfulness practitioner, and I worked in corporate for the first 20 years of my life. So I'm an ex-corporate banker, associate director for HBOS and HSBC. And a lot of my negotiation skills were obviously born and trained by some of the best people in the world. I've got to say, I was trained by some amazing trainers from all over the world back in the days of corporate banking. So one of the things, just to give you an idea of when it comes to negotiation skills, one of the things that we were taught is not to do with negotiation itself. It was to do with observation, which we will come to as part of this, observation of the person and their environment. So if you are face-to-face, if you are over Zoom or Teams or WebEx, it is about seeing what's in the person's environment, as long as it's not blurred, obviously, and picking up on anything that you can, body language, words, tonality, or anything else that they've got that you can see in their home or home office. It's really interesting because then you're gonna match yourself to them, and that's the power of negotiation, which we'll come to. John, no problem at all. Gotcha. Okay, thank you very much for letting me know. Appreciate that. So I'm going to share my screen. Just let me know that you can see this. Give me a quick yes in the Q&A. I've got my sound activated as well. So we should be okay for that. Give me a quick yes to make sure. Yes, excellent. Thank you so much, everybody. Brilliant. Okay, so here we go. So negotiation, what the heck is this about? I'm going to start off, I'm going to ask you quite a few questions all the way through so that we can get some shared understanding, sharing of best practice. I'm not bringing all the answers by any stretch of the imagination. What I need to understand is, first of all, about this negotiation thing. Can you tell me, are negotiations, number one, do you design negotiations to result in win-win solutions, or are they in general designed to result in win-win situations? What would you say? Let's deal with that one first, just for a quick 30 seconds. Are negotiations designed to result in win-win solutions? Andrea, Charles, Andrea and Charles, win-win. Fraser, false. Danny, usually win-lose. Pierre, win-win, but compromising sometimes. That's another question. Pierre, thank you so much for that. Is a compromise, is that win-win? Is a compromise win-win? Derek, the latter, then we can get what we really want. Hey, there we go, Derek, absolutely. Personal interests, oh my goodness, do they come out to play in negotiations? I design to win all, but already know where I can compromise. Alex, it depends how I read that. That could read as you're a despot and I design to win everything myself. It could be, but if you design a win-win for everybody, but already know where you can compromise, I get that entirely. That is brilliant. Win-win, compromise. John, not going to read that out, but yeah, I'm with you, John. Sarah, but best practical outcome is best. Okay, so again, this is a compromise. Pierre, is a compromise a win-win? Pierre, not necessarily. Interesting. Thank you for that. Depends what you had in mind at the start. That's exactly where we're going to go, Daniel. Absolutely right. Alex, I'll take as much as possible. I'm getting that about you, Alex. I'm getting to understand you a little bit more now. Okay, yeah. No right or wrong there. I'm with you. Sanchez, compromises sound more like a lose-lose. I lose a bit, and so do you. Yeah, there you go. So that's brilliant because, again, this is a perspective. For some people, a compromise is a loss. It's not that you gain something, because we do. A compromise is when we gain something. We don't get everything that we want, but we get something. And if you think about politics, that's what happens all the time. We have compromise agreements because no two political parties will ever agree with each other over or give the other party anything. And that happens in industry, it happens in companies, it happens in teams, all sorts of teams. Okay, fantastic. What about we're a nation of game players? We are nations of game players because we're all the same. Human condition. We are preoccupied with winning and losing. And I'm seeing this, Alex is doing it in a funny way, but I'm seeing it in coming out in different people. And this is an interesting thing. Competition is our creed. Is that true or false? Are we naturally competitive? In professional terms, I'm paid to defend my company as much as possible. Isn't that ethical? What great question. Isn't that in professional? I'm going to put that to everybody because this is a really, really great question. I don't want to answer this myself. I have my own views, I have my own answers, and I'm changing things as I go along, as I go deeper into it, because it's quite a deep question, this. In professional terms, I am paid to defend my company as much as possible. Isn't that ethical? What do you think? What would you say? I'm getting a lot of, we are naturally competitive and we're a nation of nations of game players. That's good. Some are more naturally inclined than others. That's why we have many different professions. Absolutely, good point. Sanchez, it can be. Where was that? Where was that? Where was that? Here it is. Daniel, is the company stance ethical in the first place? Because that's a really great question again. Because we've got plenty of organizations that well, they aren't ethical, but the people within them think that they are, or believe, their perception is that it might be that they are, or that they're doing everything they can, when an outside perception may be that they're not. Think of social media companies. Think of one of the biggest and famous ones, and think of what's happening with Twitter. Yeah, and I'm trying to be careful in what I say as well. Depends on your views on what your company does and whether you agree with it. Absolutely. In most cases, ethical, but there are times that defending the business is the overriding factor. We signed on the dotted line. We have signed a contract of employment. That's what we do. That's what we have signed up for. And yes, most people are competitive. Thank you. I agree that it's ethical to an extent. However, you're running the risk of stomping on your own ethical boundary. This is the thing. Shahid, thank you so much. May not be conducive to a long career with that company. And that's for many different reasons. And I agree with that. As long as you know what your ethics and morals and values are, if you do, then you will stick to them, or you will bend them to a point, as long as you can explain that compromise to yourself. But if you have to break those boundaries, you will not stay with that company. That's for damn sure. Not if you're aware of harm that will cause the other parties. There we go, Danny. If we're aware of the harm that will cause the other parties, that would be unethical. Yeah, absolutely. And for some people, they've still got no problem with that. For some people, they have got a problem with it, but they'll still do it. And for other people, they won't do it because of that. It's interesting, isn't it? It's a really, really great question to start off with even. It's surely not ethical to defend your company if it's at the cost of another business. And that's if it is at the cost of another business. You pay to represent your business, not to defend it. And even that's open to debate, even that one. Because this is an ethical debate, it really is. I feel criminal lawyers run this risk. Wow, yeah, I mean, you know, how many times have we heard of cases and I mean, not just people defending criminals, but also wrongful convictions. So it's on both sides of the law, of course, isn't it? So that's a really, I'm not saying it is, it isn't. I'm not coming down on the side of one thing or another. I just want us all to start really thinking and diving into this. This is great. So what are some examples? What I want to concentrate on, just give me some examples of negotiation for you so that I can really start to tailor things for us. So give me some idea of ideas that are examples of negotiations that you have to undertake. Ethics and legality are barriers to defending a company regardless. Yeah, that's a good one, Andrea. It's a really interesting thought, isn't it? They're a barrier. They're a good barrier. They're a signpost, potentially. What are some examples of some negotiations that you take part in? Is it with different companies? Is it with different people? Panels, intra-panel, inter-panel, other organizations? Discuss a requirement in a standard, company as well as all. Where the customer is intending to use, where the customer is intending to use the product in an unsafe environment or application. Fascinating. Wow. Because that's a biggie, that one. Gosh. People with different views. Excellent on a TC. Clashing personalities and egos. Absolutely, Sarah. Negotiate a delay to a delivery of something. Yeah, that's a good one. That's a good one. We are not ready to go live. This is not ready to go live. We need more work on it. Has anyone ever bought a new house? If you have bought a new house, then tell me why you get you have the opportunity for several months to put together a snagging list. The snagging list is of all the errors in the house. The house builder will come back and make good. Why do we have a snagging list? Yeah, excellent. Yeah, okay. I'm just running through these. Safety critical products. So this is paramount for long-term relationships. Absolutely. Absolutely, John. Thank you so much for that. Persuading the other party why they are wrong. Interesting choice of words. I get it. Resolving comments to a standard, hold them accountable for problems. Accountability, ownership. There you go. Empowerment. Absolutely. Those three things are so important. We get a snagging list for a house for several months afterwards, because negotiating a delay to a delivery of something is something that we have a common goal in mind. Snagging lists are an admission that someone has got it wrong from your perspective, and yet everybody in a new house has a snagging list. Why are we not given perfect houses? Why does it take us, the end user, to actually make somebody accountable for problems, as Fraser just said? It's incredible, isn't it? But this is what happens, certainly in the UK. And if you look further down the line, it's because negotiations, correct negotiations, have not taken place. Time has not been given for the skills, the trades, to master or to complete what they need to in the time that they need to do it. So that's why snagging lists exist. Perfection can be subjective. And there you go. Again, that's where negotiation comes in. And that's why we have people go into third parties, mediation, legal parties to decide what perfection could be. Often the common goal in mind, but agreement is needed on how to get there. So there we go to strategy and technique. Perfect. Right, let's move on. Thank you very much for that. Very interesting. Where are we? Just lost my time. There we go. Okay, so yeah, we've got good time. So why do we not achieve perfection? Why do we not achieve what we want? Why do we not always achieve even a compromise? Because sometimes we don't get what we want and they don't get what they want. We do get a lose-lose. Why does this happen? What are the challenges that you face? I want to see if I can get any general trends coming out here. What are the main challenges that you face in negotiation? That's what I'm looking for. Outside factors. Fraser, can you just clarify that? Outside of you, outside of team, outside of organization? Thank you. Budgets, personal problems, relationships with other side. Perfect. Perfect. Thank you, Fraser. Excellent. Yeah, good one, John. Mutual understanding of what is required. How many times have you had a project, and when you talk about the project or what the end will look like, this party has their idea of what you've just said or delivered, and this party has something that is not the same. There's a mismatch. It happens all the time. Organization limitations, red lines. Yeah, totally opposite viewpoints. Oh yeah, wow, with no obvious bridge. And how can you possibly build a bridge between totally opposite viewpoints? That's impossible almost, and most times. The willingness to compromise from Sarah. Thank you for that. Not being prepared. Preparation's key. If you don't prepare for your negotiation, do not negotiate. That's the key message from today. If you have not prepared, make an excuse, put it off, go back to the table, prepare. Insufficient authority could be that, absolutely. You don't know all of the factors influencing the other party, having to negotiate something when all you have is red lines and nothing to concede. Oof, wow, yeah. Oh my gosh. Lack of what's in it for me. Oh, Pierre, I love this. Okay, so Pierre's just highlighted what's in it for me. So this is a really, really important term. WIIFM, the WIFM. So our job as a negotiator is to find out what the other person's WIFM is. You know what your what's in it for me is. Our job is to find out and to think and to discover what the other person's WIFM or what's in it for me from their perspective is. If we get an idea of what they want, we've got a chance of obviously tailoring our solution, our thing to them as much as we possibly can, given that we may have a fixed bottom line or anything, or lack of bargaining chips. Yeah, these are all great. Thank you so much for that. And Andrea's just said an inability to see other person's viewpoint. And if you've got that on one side, you've got a tough battle. If you've got it on both sides, you've got a tougher battle. And it is about this competitive thing. And I promise you that most of you are competitive and it will come out. So what I'd like you to do very quickly is I'm going to give you all £1,000. There are 77 people here on the session today. There's 77 of you. And you'll have to use me as a mediation tool. So go through your Q&A. I need to know how you're going to negotiate for your share of £1,000. You've got 3 minutes to negotiate with everybody through me for your share of £1,000. What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Alex, absolutely. Yeah. Preparations, also knowing what the approach of the other party will be. Come to that collaborative, aggressive, etc. Yeah, absolutely. Honestly, yeah, it is about that other person. £1,000, folks. You've got 2.5 minutes. Does anybody want this £1,000? Nobody said they want anything yet. Honestly, I've got the £1,000 here. I'll have to transfer it. Don't take a screenshot. There's no PIN number on it anyway. I'll have to transfer it, but I've got to. Oh, here we go. So here we go. Whoops, wrong button. Here we are. Is it a voting system? It's whatever you want it to be, Fraser. Appeal to what they believe is correct, supporting common charity. Sarah just wants to take it. Sarah's offering to take it, folks. Should we let Sarah have it? Oh, John needs it because this is what he's going to do with it. John saying, Sarah, no, Sarah, you can't have it. Sanchez, yeah, no, you can't see other people's comments. I'm going to read them out with you, out to you, so you can keep up to date with what people are saying or offering. Sarah's offered to take it. Brilliant offer. Thanks so much, Sarah. Unfortunately, John said no. So that's one offer off the table. Oh gosh. John needs it because he's going to do something with it, but I don't know what he's going to do with it. Alex says, I think we should get 2,000 divided by all. Why 1,000? Do you know how much is in my account? 2,000. Derek, I'll give you 10% to first to offer. Ooh, that's a very good offer. Aaron, I'll take £1,000. You clearly want to give it to me. Aaron, I do. Sarah, that's my whiffum. Andrea, know the other people's needs and finds and find others with similar views. Oh, this is perfect. I love this. So Andrea's saying, if we had the time, find other people with similar views, join together. So you're getting your team together to bid for a large part to share between less people or whatever reason. You get that. So you're getting your allies together. Brilliant. Francis, thank you. You're the first person. So ask for £13, which is actually my share. We each get the same. So I take it. It was 77. There's now 98 people. So there's a few people. There's 22 people that aren't going to get anything. However, Francis will split 13 quid for everybody. How does that sound? Yeah, Pierre, who wants to identify what we can do with the £1,000 together? I love this. Yeah, now you're starting to get into collaborative thinking. Aaron, love that. Aaron's made an offer. Daniel is working out an equal share. Now 9. Derek's worked out now 9 quid. Agreed to go out to dinner and blow the lot. Let's agree a charity for it all. Yeah, love that. How about a charity? That sounds good. Or dinner for you guys because you work hard and you flipping deserve it. John said, good outcome, but, and there's the competition coming in. Let's take the grand up a pub. Daniel, fine idea. Alternatively, divide equally between all, and if unable to divide equally, give the balance to charity. There we go. So I guess I've got to give it to charity then, because we haven't been able to do 2, because that's a 3-minute top. So never mind. I'm sure another session we'll be able to come to an agreement, a consensus, and we will. Do you know what? I'm just going to go with Fraser's idea. 1,000 quid on black. What the heck? Let's do it. And then 2,000 to charity or not. Right. Let's move on. You game players, you competitive people. Now the thing with negotiation is, it's the old iceberg. The old iceberg thing comes in all the time in so many different ways. And when it comes to negotiation, we have 2 kinds of outcomes. We have tangible outcomes and we have intangible outcomes. The tangible outcomes are usually things to do with, like we've been saying, all those factors that we've been raising: price, delivery, time, quality. And then we have the intangibles, which are the feeling-based things. Winning, there's that competitive thing, making another person happy, making us happy, being fair. So this is the ethics, the morals, and the values coming out again, or indeed preserving your reputation, your integrity, or the organization's integrity, or the organization's reputation, because we've already been having that conversation, which you raised earlier, which was absolutely spot on. Which would you say is the more important to? Which would you say is the more important to plan for? The tangible outcomes or the intangibles? What are you going to plan for to appeal to the other party? Tangible. Daniel, clever. Not reading that out for a minute. We've got a few people saying tangible. Got a few people saying do not let me influence what you're going to say. There we go. Yeah, we're starting to get several people now saying both. The intangibles are added benefits. Oh, Sarah, that's an interesting perspective. John, from a business perspective, gaining long-term credibility is most significant. Now, coming from this moment in time, from your perspective and mine, I agree. However, an organization, if it's under any form of stress, if it's in growth or trouble mode, long-term credibility may be seen as recoverable, and so survival might be what they are aiming for at this moment in time. So for that business, just surviving will change the way that they approach a negotiation, and certainly their viewpoint on it potentially. There are different growth modes that businesses are in. Reputation is very important if negotiating is your life. You have to play the long game sometimes. Yeah, good one. Yeah, absolutely. Good point. Whoops. That's there. I'm doing the wrong button again. There we go. Has to be a balance of both. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that's absolutely fair. Plan for the tangible, but still aim for the intangible. Yeah, this is it. This is it. Yeah, I think it is. It's a real balance. It's a real balance. There are two factors that have been identified in negotiation as being very important influencing factors, and that the two factors are likability and power. Who has the power? So that's a really interesting concept, because we've got this power thing playing out, which is seen as a real hierarchical political positioning to old style type of negotiation. But we've also got this likability, the emotion, the feeling, and it depends on winning and losing, and what's going to happen long term. So they're the two factors, power and likability. So when you've said about it depends on different positions in the company and depends who we're negotiating with, you're absolutely right. Depends if you, yeah, Aaron, yeah, this is it. Transactional relationships or long-term relationships. And yeah, I take your point on that entirely. You do transactional negotiations, very different to long-term negotiations. If anybody's been on holiday and has been at one of those brilliant holiday markets where you can have a lot of fun and barter with people, and basically what you're aiming to do is get down to about get a third knocked off, maybe half. If you're a fantastic negotiator, under half of the t-shirt, skirt, carpet, chessboard, or gosh knows what else that we see on our holidays at these fantastic markets, and we have a lot of fun doing it at the same time, and that's always a win-win. But it's a transactional win-win. I say it's always, it vastly mostly is. Let's have a look, just quickly cover off what else has been said. Again, Alex, good point. I think that people always try to be collaborative first to be liked. And this is true because, again, this is part of the human condition. We want to be liked. Therefore, we will try to be collaborative. Most people will, but some people will not. Some people will absolutely be out trying to win-lose. That's their nature. But the vast majority of people will be, exactly as Alex says, they will try to be collaborative at first. So if we empower that, if we tap into that, then that's why we can head to a win-win, or indeed a compromise. Last one, tangible benefits likely to be covered by contract. Yeah, John, absolutely agree. Yeah, John, completely agree with what you've said there about the balance of the tangibles and the intangibles. So it is really important to address both. Very, very much. If you've got something to say there, sorry, I just saw a hand go up on the attendees. If anybody wants to say anything, then please feel free to put whatever you want on the Q&A, and I will address it. I am following the Q&A intently. I'm just looking at my time, just cracking where we are. Good, okay. So if you think about how you define a successful negotiation, like we just said, a lot of the time, both parties win. That's exactly how I enter and how I always entered into. That's how I was taught, trained to enter into the negotiation. I would find as much out about Fraser, Alex, John, Melanie, Neil, Omar, or anybody else. I would find as much out about you personally. I would find whatever I could about your company, about the project. I would then, in my preparations, and this is what I was trained to do. So this was world-class negotiation skills. I would then use whatever information I could gain to find out what your what's in it for me is. What's your WIFM? What is your what's in it for me? I know what mine is, but what's your what's in it for me? That way, I can start aligning our interests and our positions. I can start getting it within a zone instead of being completely misaligned. And I can start getting towards, I can get my starting position somewhere where I think or where I believe you will probably start. This is not just about price. This is about all those tangibles and intangibles. But what we offer, what the offering is, what the project, what the tasks look like. Because if I do that, I've got more chance of meeting in the middle. If we start at radically different places, and I'll come to this strategy in a minute, but if we start too far apart, then we're never going to meet. And there's always going to be this gap, which we refer to as the insult zone, which I'll come to afterwards. So how do you define your successful negotiation? Have a think about that. So I'm going to introduce some terms to you. Let me know if you've come across these or not. The first term, just catching up on the chat. Both parties. Yeah, excellent. Aaron, very good point. Absolutely. Charles, great point. Francis, great point. Thank you so much. The first term, let me know if you've come across these. I want to introduce to you BATNA, which is the best alternative to a negotiated agreement. Now, the best alternative is your win. That's your best alternative. So we have perfection here, which we're probably not going to reach. So your best alternative is somewhere down here. It's not at perfection because we're probably not going to get that. But where we'd love to get to is about here, somewhere here or here. But you've set it. You've set it. It's an absolute. That's what where you'd love to get. And that's the top of what you think you can get. Then we have to set another one, which is our WATNA. So we've got our BATNA set up here. That's our best alternative. That's getting the most of what we want. Now we look down the bottom and we set a WATNA. Okay, what is the least that we will agree to? What is the lowest? What does it look like? What does it feel like? What is our WATNA? And now, if we've got our WATNA set and we've got our BATNA set, then worst alternative, best alternative, that gives us a zone. And this is a zone of potential agreement. If I can get my other negotiating person into this zone, then they will agree. We've won. It's a win-win. It's still a compromise, but it's a win-win. We both know and we both feel, because I'm going to facilitate this, as has been said, make the other party feel like they're winning. Absolutely. I'm going to make you feel like you've won. I've given, you've given, we've both won. Absolutely fine. We can both live with it. We can both flourish with it. We can both thrive with it. So we're all good. How does that sound? Your BATNA, your WATNA, which gives you a zone of potential agreement. This is not just for buying houses or buying cars, any of that. It's not just for transactions. This is for advanced, intense, multidisciplinary negotiations. Oh, that's Alex has come up with an interesting point. You can aim to be out of the ZOPA as your strategy to then compromise to be inside. So actually your strategy, you have your ZOPA set, but your strategy is to start outside of your ZOPA to finish within. So yeah, I agree with it. And again, that's the power of facilitation. That is absolutely the power of facilitation. So what we want to do is, let's have a look. Where are we? Yeah, we want to have a look, I think, at what this looks like as a model. I'm just going to go through a few models of what this looks like. So this is the classic. This is the classic where this uses the terms buyer and seller. Replace those with party one, party two. It works exactly the same. So if let's say we're the buyer, if we're party one, which is the buyer, and we've done our homework, whatever homework is possible, and we've put our BATNA and WATNA in place, and we've read the other party right, we've got an understanding of the project, of the task, of the standards, of what can be done and what needs to be done, of where we can drag the other party, of where we can highlight where the other party can come and join us, then we've got an understanding of their worst alternative, their WATNA. So our WATNA we'll put below that. We are prepared to accept something below their WATNA. That creates a ZOPA. And as long as we have a zone of potential agreement, as long as we don't let emotion, because one of the challenges, one of the barriers is when we get into competition or positional or oppositional bargaining, and we let feelings interfere with things, and then we've got our ZOPA set, we're correct, but because we've let emotion interfere, we can't gain agreement. I've seen that loads of times where people won't agree with people. The project could be agreed, but the person won't agree with the other person. Phenomenal how it happens in real life. So what does it look like? So here we go. So what we do is we set up our planned opening offer. We do all our preparation. We have all the factors that we can possibly discover. So we set our first offer and our final offer. So this is Alex would set his first offer outside of the ZOPA. Absolutely right. We've done our homework. We think that B, the other party, are going to start outside the ZOPA as well, but we think that we can get them inside. But what we've also done correctly is we've got our WATNA below theirs. So we've done it correctly, and we've created this overlap zone, the overlap zone, which is the ZOPA. So we've created a zone of potential agreement. So we could, if you can see my mouse there, my pointer, on ours, which is the blue arrow, on our negotiation, we don't necessarily have to go down to our worst alternative. We could actually, because it's in the ZOPA, we could actually get the other party agreeing to the worst case scenario for them, because it's still a win, through to not quite, leaving them something. And if we can leave them something, then don't we leave them feeling a little bit better as well? And doesn't that play into the hands of long-term relationship? Bluffing is important. Don't let the other party know what your worst scenario is. Well, that's key, because if we do know what your worst scenario is, then we're going to go straight for it and say, yep, we'll accept that. It's about being realistic, and for both to win, both need to move. Absolutely. If somebody is unmovable, we are not going to agree. Walk away. Walk away. Sometimes you have to walk away. That's an outcome of a negotiation. It absolutely is lose-lose. So that's what happens sometimes. However, and this is the trouble, and this is what I can't stress about preparation. And I do. Preparation is this is where Pareto comes into it. This is where the Pareto principle and 80-20 principle comes in. Negotiations should be 80% preparation, 20% negotiation. We should do as much as we possibly can. We should gather as much information to set out our negotiation strategy as much as we possibly can before the negotiation. If we don't, then we are handing power over to the other party. We are letting them know what our WATNA may be. It's never leave money on the table. The 5 Ps exactly, Charles, exactly. Well, it's proper planning, prevents, etc., etc. So it's absolutely right. Time is an element. Aaron said allowing time is key. Never negotiate in a hurry. It's so key. That's you're absolutely right. Time is a massive influencer. This is time, and the perception of time changes behaviors. So if you have a particular leadership style, you have a particular managerial style. So And this will change, and I guarantee you, if you haven't thought about this, if you haven't looked at this, if you haven't learned about this before, your leadership style will change if I put you under time pressure. I can't tell you what it will change from and to, because I don't know who you are and what your leadership styles are, but I promise you, your leadership style will not stay the same, which means that your negotiation, the physical negotiation, the way that you think, the way that you feel, because time is an element. If I put you under time pressure, you may not make as reasonably thought out, logical as you could be, thought out solutions as you would have done with the time that was available for you. Does that make sense to everybody? Time is key. Aaron is absolutely right. That's one of the biggest factors when it comes to negotiation. Don't leave it to the last minute. You've got a 20% probability of success. Take as much time as you possibly can. Prepare, prepare, prepare. If we don't, and we don't get the information, then we're guessing at where the other person's whatnot is, what they want, what they see as complete, finished, perfection, progression even. And then what happens? Well, we enter into negotiation, and normally we kind of think, oh my gosh, oh heck, we are not going to meet up here. We have got a problem. We have got this wrong. They've got this wrong. We are not going to be able to get this zone of potential agreement for whatever reason. And that's when we either walk away or we end up giving away far more than we wanted to, and our whatna actually drops lower than what we'd planned. Seen that happen loads of times. I've seen that happen so many times, especially in the banks. We would talk about a complete offering, loads of services, charges, this, that, the other, so many different critical factors, and different critical factors were influential and important to different organizations. So we'd go along, and with our information and training and ideas about their organization and the personalities involved, we'd present our plan and be prepared to give away this, that, and the other, because we knew that we were going to have to. If we didn't do this, and I saw some, especially when you have, and I'm one of them actually. I'm a person that likes to do things. What do they call it? In flight, on the wing. I fly by the seat of my pants, all that sort of stuff. So I like being dynamic. I like being risky. I like thinking, I know how to do this. I can do this. The trouble is that works sometimes, and that reinforces my belief that I can do this. The reality is it doesn't work all the time, and it doesn't work all the time to get as much as you possibly could get for either you, the organization, or all of you concerned. So the 5 Ps are really, really important. And where are we with time? So we're just going to have a 5-minute break. Just after this point, we'll finish this bit off just now. This is the final one. Again, if we haven't done, there's two ways to look at this. If we haven't done our correct homework, if we haven't prepared properly, or if a curveball is thrown at us, then it can look like we are starting at a very distant point from where they are. And if that looks like the case, then how are we ever going to meet in the middle and create a zone of potential agreement? And mostly we aren't, because the other party is thinking, but how, you don't know us, you don't understand the situation, you don't understand the deliverables. And if you don't understand that, how could we possibly trust you to complete this or to do what needs to be done? So can you see how it can massively interfere? Let's just have a quick look. What's the alternatives to this business? Better or worse outside? Alex, what are the alternatives to this? Sometimes, and this is incredible to think, but sometimes I've been involved in negotiations where something has happened and the business that we are negotiating with has actually gone to another organization with a worse offer. And it can be for many different reasons, and not all of them legal. But that happens, and we know that it happens. And for one, oh my gosh, I can't tell you the story. I can't tell you it. but it was so obvious. It was so obvious what had been done. And it did involve quite a bit of money exchanging hands. And it did involve ethics and morals. And we never approached that company again because we did not want to deal with them. They were going to be our client and deliver profitability to us. But after they did to us and accepted something, there was no way that we could ever partner with them as a client. We could never trust them. Never give away, only negotiate away. Good one, Charles. Alex, just to round off before we hit a 5-minute break. Maybe you have to lose because there are no better alternatives. Absolutely, absolutely. Losing isn't always winning. Every series, oh my gosh, Daniel, every series of The Apprentice features multiple instances of the insult zone, doesn't it? Doesn't it? The Apprentice has just become kind of a little bit more of an intelligent big brother. Oh my gosh, it makes me cringe now. Building rapport, Aaron, brilliant one to finish for a 5-minute break. Building rapport is key to an able movement. Love that. Concise, precise. Building rapport is key to an able movement. Absolutely 100% correct. Really agree with it. Everybody, let's have 5 minutes. Quick break now. Refresh your glasses, nip to the toilet, get a breath of fresh air. I'll be back in 5 minutes. Thank you. Okay, welcome back. That's about 5 minutes, I think, just on. I'll just keep talking just for a little bit, just to help ease people back in to the room. And if they're in the kitchen, just to let them hopefully not dash back too much. John put, it's a good point this actually, John put, need to be aware of changes introduced from the other party. We need to take time to know exactly what the change is. This can avoid conflict down the line. That's a really good point. Never be rushed into accepting any changes before you can plan or model what that change actually means. That's really, really important. And again, you could have a list of 10 factors, 10 movables, and if that's the 11th one, then you probably are not going to be able to reach agreement until you've gone away, and then you're going to have to come back and continue the negotiation. So yeah, that's a really, really good point. Never be rushed into agreeing. There is a particular tactic in negotiation called the minor point close. The minor point close, and this is where we agree to a lot of points from you that we see as quite minor or are acceptable, in order for us to get what we want from you, which might be something which we might not have presented, or might not be looking as huge as it actually is for us. The minor point close. We'll say yes to you several times before asking for a big thing for ourselves, and it's much harder for you to say actually no, because then we get into positional bargaining and we lose a lot of ground. Goes into emotions and feelings. So John, that's a really, really great observation. Thank you very much for that. Okay, so moving on, quick check on time. I'm going to finish just before 12:45. Give us some time for Q&A if there's any. We've taken a break. It's 12:10 for me in the UK. So well, I've got a video for you, I think, next about body language, because again, this is part of our training, part of negotiation. Learning to read other people massively influences outcomes. It influences the movement within the negotiation. It gives you extra information, ammunition as to where you are, whether what you're saying has been so many times. Because you're so focused on what you've got to say, you may not be reading the signs that are going on around you, so, or from the person that's there. So having another person or parties involved in negotiation, always really helpful, because they can just give you a quick nudge or a quick message to say, let's leave this, let's move on. They're not feeling happy about that, then, because different people can see different things. Body language, there's an old saying, all behavior is communication. There's another famous saying from Peter Drucker, and he said, the most important thing in communication is to hear what isn't being said. The most important thing in communication is to hear what isn't being said. So you're becoming aware of your body language, and what you're saying non-verbally is as important as building your ability to read the other party. Because with negotiation comes influence. So what I'm going to show you now is a wonderful, okay, so hang on quickly. Yeah, Andrea, when negotiations on Zoom, body language won't help. Trade deals with Australia. Yes, indeed. Okay, so body language. So body language, when we talk about non-verbal, that includes not only the physiology, not the physical part, it also includes the tonality of the voice. So it's all about pace, pitch, volume, phrasing as well. And when we don't have cameras on for whatever reason, when it's literally verbal, that's when the non-verbal, just a bit of the non-verbal still stays. Actually, the non-verbal becomes more important. Well, sorry, that's wrong. It doesn't become more important. It just becomes a massive factor. How we say things. I've just amped up my voice a bit to give you an idea of what we can do to actually make a point when it comes to using your voice. The more you practice this, the more that you use it in whatever situation you have. Amy Cuddy is my reference point here. Amy Cuddy, she is fantastic. We lose up to, with Zoom, with Teams, with WebEx, we lose in these wee boxes, we lose up to 90% of body language, up to 90%, but we can still get some from it. So I'm reading tone from the words that you're using, the phrases that you're using in your written comments. You're taking my body language because you see my physiology, you can hear my tonality as well as the words themselves. Let's just see what Amy Cuddy has to say. She's an American psychologist, absolutely amazing, Harvard lecturer, and she does loads of research on confidence, power posing, body language. She's pretty amazing. Just give me a quick yes on the Q&A to let me know that you can hear the vocal.
So I want to start by offering you a free no-tech life hack, and all it requires of you is this, that you change your posture for 2 minutes. I became especially interested in nonverbal expressions of power and dominance. And what are nonverbal expressions of power and dominance? Well, so in the animal kingdom, they are about expanding. So you make yourself big, you stretch out, and humans do the same thing. So they do this both when they have power sort of chronically, and also when they're feeling powerful in the moment. So powerful people tend to be, not surprisingly, more assertive and more confident. Physiologically, there also are differences on two key hormones, testosterone, which is the dominance hormone, and cortisol, which is the stress hormone. We decided to bring people into the lab and run a little experiment, and these people adopted for 2 minutes high power poses or low power poses. And I'm just going to show you 5 of the poses, although they took on only 2. This is what happens. They come in, they spit into a vial. We, for 2 minutes, say, you need to do this or this. We then ask them, how powerful do you feel on a series of items? And then we take another saliva sample. Here's what we find on testosterone. From their baseline when they come in, high-power people experience about a 20% increase, and low-power people experience about a 10% decrease. Here's what you get on cortisol. High-power people experience about a 25% decrease, and the low-power people experience about a 15% increase. So 2 minutes lead to these hormonal changes that configure your brain to basically be either assertive, confident, and comfortable, or really stress-reactive. But the next question, of course, is, can power posing for a few minutes really change your life in meaningful ways? And so what matters, where you want to use this is evaluative situations. We decided that the one that most people could relate to was the job interview. What do you do before you go into a job interview? You do this, right? You're sitting down, you're looking at your notes, you're hunching up, making yourself small, when really what you should be doing maybe is this, like in the bathroom. Okay, so we bring people into a lab, and they do either high or low power poses again. They go through a very stressful job interview. It's 5 minutes long. They are being recorded. They're being judged also. We then have these coders look at these tapes, 4 of them. They're blind to the hypothesis. They're blind to the conditions. They have no idea who's been posing in what pose. They end up looking at these sets of tapes, and they say, oh, we want to hire these people, all the high power posers. We don't want to hire these people. But what's driving it? It's not about the content of the speech. It's about the presence that they're bringing to the speech. The last thing I want to leave you with is this. Tiny tweaks can lead to big changes. Before you go into the next stressful evaluative situation, for 2 minutes, try doing this in the elevator, in a bathroom stall, at your desk behind closed doors. That's what you want to do. Configure your brain to cope the best in that situation. Get your testosterone up, get your cortisol down, and it can significantly change the outcomes of their life. Thank you.
There we go. Fabulous. So do have a look at on YouTube. YouTube is a fantastic repository of information, training, learning. It's fabulous, and it's free, of course. So do have a look on there and search for people like Amy Cuddy, Cuddy. She's marvelous, and she's got loads of good information like that out there. The power poses she was talking about is standing up with your arms out to the sides and legs either shoulder width or stretched apart as well, really open. The reason for that is the opposite is the defensive, the protection of the vital organs, the hunched into are very defensive. So that way, that's what, remember, it's just for several seconds, for goodness sakes. That's what increases the amount of testosterone to increase the amount of power that you feel. Remember what we said before about those two factors, power and likability. Well, for those of us that don't have huge amounts of confidence, or we're going up against people that are of a higher hierarchical position than us, then just doing something like that for several seconds, 2 minutes even, that can help you become more comfortable. Power is different for different people. More confident. It can help you slow down, control your pulse. It can help you communicate with clarity. It can do a lot of things. So do consider that. She also goes on in that same talk to talk about confidence. And we've probably all heard of the age-old technique, fake it until you make it. And this is a technique that's recognized. It does work, fake it until you make it. And she talks about in this one, that's actually a wee bit incorrect. And actually what it should be is fake it until you become it, because that's what happens. If you keep faking something, eventually you become it. In this case, confidence. So she's absolutely wonderful. Let's have a look at a couple of comments there. She has books too. Absolutely. Thank you. Appearing too powerful can prevent good negotiation. And this is positional. That's when it is about exactly that. Power. I'm using the word power. Power looks differently, and it's how we want to present ourselves. It could be confidence, not overconfident, not arrogance. It could be confidence is looking like getting the other person to believe that you know what you're talking about, that you are a subject matter expert. That's power. I cringe inside every time everybody calls me an expert or uses that term when it comes to mental health or suicide or things like this. I still have a terrible imposter syndrome internally, and I work not to show it because I know that I have to give confidence to the people that I'm talking to. And then you look back afterwards and you think, well, actually, how many years have I been in this arena? What knowledge have I picked up? How have I been trained? Who have I been trained by? Yeah, I guess in some terms, I am a type of expert. I'll never think of myself as an expert, but I will think of myself, I'll allow myself to think of as a type of expert. That's fine. My ex worked in kitchen telesales, and they were always told to stand up when talking to a potential customer. And that's because exactly as you've just seen there, doing something different with the body affects thinking, affects behavior, affects communication. It absolutely does. You get told in telesales, we get told to stand up. We get encouraged to use stand-up desks. We get encouraged to pace. We get encouraged to swing arms. All of those things, really good, contact centers do think about the environment and the individual. Being sat down like this all day is conducive to just the same conversation time after time after time. And it's terrible. It's terrible. So yeah, I get that. Thank you very much for that. What else? Daniel, absolutely correct. Visitor waiting areas, and this is the same in offices as well. This is the positional bit. Visitor waiting areas in offices often have low power sofas, the low ones, the ones where you disappear into when you're waiting to go into your meeting. Choosing not to sit as an option, question mark. Let's get everybody's view on that. So if there's a sofa there and it's really low, and when let's say you sit into it and boom, you disappear down to here, then in the reception, when you're waiting to meet somebody, is choosing not to sit an option? I'm going to ask you that. I've definitely got my answer on this. I'm very firm on this. Had a teacher who constantly walked across the classroom, which was supposed to keep people interested in what they're saying. You've really got to temper that. You've got to stand still at some points to make points. You can't keep walking. That will frazzle some people. Hold something out to someone and they will take it. The first agreement has been achieved. Great. Well, yeah, absolutely. Feel more relaxed. Yes. Get up, spread out on the relaxed sofa. Power pose on the relaxed sofa. I love that, Aaron. Yeah, let's just make sure that will be taken okay there. So my answer to that is I never sit on a sofa or a seat. I'm aware of what Amy Cuddy says. I'm aware of the data. I'm aware of the studies. So I've done my sitting usually in the car or the bus or the train. So I will always stand up. And why I always stand up, and I always have, if I've got something, I've always got it on my left-hand side of my body. I always leave my right hand free so that as soon as somebody appears, I'm on eye level with them. So I just have to turn towards them and then I can literally just hold my hand out and go and offer my hand to shake. So if they're holding their hand out, brilliant. If they're not, I always offer my hand. They can say, oh, do you mind if I don't, sanitation and blah, 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 COVID and everything else, not a problem at all. But I always offer my hand out because I'm offering that. So who said that? I'm offering something. Hold something out to someone. Andrea said they will take it. The first agreement has been achieved. And that's the handshake. That's the greeting at the start. It's something as crazy as that. So Andrea, you are more right than you often than you knew there, unless you meant that. There are often signals in the area that are worth noting, so definitely stand. John, thank you so much. Your choice whether you sit or not. Absolutely. Absolutely. If you're going to sit down, relax. Don't spread. Try not to spread like crazy, but don't go insular either. Just relax. And then as soon as they come in, make sure you get up. I've been in one place where somebody didn't get up and the person took that as a personal insult. So always get up. Good. Excellent. So body language. Right. What do we think Mr. Obama is communicating here on the left, please? Tell me that one. What do we think Mr. Obama is communicating there? I'll come back to handshake in a bit. Unimpressed, switch off. Disagreement, not interested, don't want to be here, don't like you or anything here. That was a bit extreme, Daniel. Flipping X. Could be though. Closed body language, not open to negotiation, dismiss. Yeah, you're on it. You're absolutely on it. You've got it all. Bad idea. Yeah, perfect. Disagreement, closed body language, perfect. Absolutely. No eye contact, looking away, look at the mouth, downturn. Yeah, none of that. Defensive. Yeah, crossing arms. Crossing the arms can be just relaxed. That is defensive. Yeah, not open to it. Dismissive. Perfect. Excellent. What about our other person who has just made his big statement, staying apolitical, folks, staying apolitical, not saying anything about politics, especially American politics. This person down here who's just announced his intention to stand again for 2024. What do you see here? What are you reading in his actions, in his body language? Because think whatever you like about him, he's very clear in his communication. Shocking, Charles. I can't say that. John. Got to get professional again. Right. Okay. John, thank you. Yes, absolutely. Lively, dominating. Alex, pointing is rude. Well, it is to us, but to him, what's pointing? Accusatory, aggressive, me, aggression. wants to make a point. Eunice, somebody else asked about the type of handshake as well. Yeah, so yeah, we'll talk about that just in 1 second. Aggressive. Aaron saying assertive. Interesting. So for some people it might be aggressive, for other people it might be assertive. You will listen to me, Kedabone. So yeah, there you go. So it's the control element. So remember those two things, those two elements: power, likability. Yeah, Sanchez, I'm not going to say that, but yeah, I know where you're coming from, and I may agree totally with you, but I'm not going to say it. Eunice, dominant, thank you very much. Aaron, yes. Alex, doesn't show palms, which gains trust. Okay, yeah, I get what you're saying. Yeah, we'll talk about that in a second. What was I saying? What was I saying before? Come back to handshake. Yes, power and likability. This chap is all about power, all about power. He thinks he's likable, and indeed 30 million plus people love him. He is a leader. He has followers. That's one of the definitions, one of the key definitions of a leader. He does lead people. He got into a key leadership position. He may get in there again. You never know. But control is the element that and power is exactly what he expresses every single time, which is his power. It's also his weakness. You get that? He's not really flexible when it comes to body language. You know what's going to happen. It's never a surprise. He has one way of doing things. Alex said he doesn't show palms, which gains trust. And this is absolutely right. So this comes from the Middle Ages. This is called the open-handed palm gesture. Whenever we do, let me just sit up a bit in my chair. It's sunk a little bit, okay? So this is called the open-handed palm gesture. And this comes over even when I'm doing this on Zoom or Teams. So you can still get people to trust you if you're doing things like this, because what I'm doing is I'm opening my palms to you. And this is called the open-handed palm gesture. This shows that I haven't got any weapons in my hands. I'm being open and honest. You can trust me. It works on a subconscious level, so you don't even have to know about it. And it doesn't matter what country we're from. This is global, by the way. This is a global piece of body language. If you do this type of thing, then people will trust you. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start priming you by nodding. So I've raised my eyebrows, a little bit of a furrowed brow. You can see there's no Botox here. And now I'm nodding. So what I'm doing is I'm priming you to agree with what it is that I'm going to ask you. Do you see where I'm going with this? So understanding what you can do in a negotiation can really give more power and influence over and engage more of a probability of success for you just by doing that. The handshake, yeah, so two people were saying about the handshake. Handshake's important, absolutely. I had one guy and I gave him a piece of advice as soon as he shook my hand because he almost crushed it. He was a graduate. He was a sporty guy. He was really tall, and he either didn't know, and I told him about it, so he did know, but he kept doing it. So it was a learned behavior. It was a chosen behavior, and he used to crush people's hands, and that was even our clients' hands as well. And I told him to stop it, and he wouldn't until the day that he left the company. And I say left the company because, as you can guess, if somebody doesn't listen, then with one thing, they're probably not going to listen to other things. And he didn't. And he might have suited some environments, but he didn't suit ours. And so showing dominance is fine, but it's got to be the right environment. And if somebody goes up against you, somebody's put on alpha male, that type of thing, alpha gender, it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter the gender, the person, control is the thing. Whoever tries to go for it, if you can, like he can, then great. But if you can't, if you get it wrong, you have lost power or you've given it away, even worse. John, open palms, I was once told, was like a puppy wanting people to love them. Oh, that's interesting. Closed hands are cats, controlling or wanting to do so. interesting again. Okay, so I don't know, I haven't heard the poppy thing before. What I can tell you definitely is this comes from medieval times, the open-handed palm gesture, and so yeah, really briefly, in the midst of a battle or before a battle, what would happen is I can't remember what you call them, but the two not the leading people, but they'd send their equerries. I can't remember what they're called. Their agents to meet in the middle, and when they met under a flag of truce, when they did that, they would approach each other with their hands out to show that they didn't have a dagger. Therefore, they were not there to harm the other person, and that's where it comes from. And it's taken place over hundreds of years, so much so it's hard-coded into the oldest part of the brain. So that's where it comes from. I haven't heard about the puppy thing. I will look into that myself, just as a matter of interest. So please do learn to read and influence people through your non-verbal communication, because it is even, and whenever we're talking about facts, figures, when we're talking about absolute data and things like that, please don't think that it's all about the data. Please don't think it's all about logic, because feelings, emotions, likability, they always play a part in negotiations. So just a little thing as a summary I put together for us, just to get some stages and structure to the negotiation. What do we do? What can we do? We always separate people from the problem. Separate the person from the negotiation. Find out as much as you possibly can about the person conducting the negotiation. Find out about the organization and focus on interests, joint interests, not positions. The second that you go to positional bargaining is the second that you enter got to be a loser. Find out what the real needs are. Don't look at the smoke screens. Find out what the real needs are. That's where preparation, that's where research, that find ways that you can both agree. That way, we can, even if it's a compromise, we might finish high up on the compromise and not low. There's all these, it's a continuum. There's lots of different parts of the continuum of compromise. It could be a very good compromise. It could be a very bad, and anything in between. Measurement. And of course, when we come from a data perspective, when we come from a standards perspective, measurement is absolutely critical. What is success? What does it look like? How can it be measured? How can we report back that you have won and we have won, and this is what it looks like? So always insist on objective criteria that you all agree with. So how do we know that this standard, when implemented, will work, will look like it's working in this organization or in any organization? Objective criteria. I'm going to leave you with a final influencing tool. Why am I showing you pictures of urinals that you may be thinking to yourselves? You maybe have thought, this is all a very standard negotiation skills presentation up to now, Sean, but what the heck is this? So this, and we don't have time to go into this because this can fill a day. Welcome to nudge theory. This is called nudge theory. So what happens here is we are nudged to behave in a certain way. So for example, tell me why there is a goal, a football goal, in the urinal in the middle of the screen there. Put on the Q&A. Ah, Shahid, thank you for that. Really interesting. Lots of religious leaders do the open hand thing. I pictured the Pope when you demonstrated it. How interesting is that? Alex, hard with the arguments, soft for the people. Good one. Like it. Yeah, absolutely. Fraser, where to aim? Daniel, aim. Alex, so you aim. Andrea, to encourage chaps to aim straight. Exactly. Sarah, I use similar potty training for my son. Good, exactly this, exactly this. And this is obviously so that we can aim into the center so that we stop. This is, something's happened to the tile there. We can see that the discoloration of the grout around the tiles because people haven't been aiming into the urinal over years. And the same happens on other ones. These are commercial urinals, and what they do is they put a ceramic fly on random parts of the in the target area of the urinal. So it's actually a glazed ceramic fly. So again, men will aim for the fly. So it controls what stays in the urinal. So we're being nudged. We're not being told to aim, but we're being nudged. What's happening over here on this escalator? What's happening over here? You've got all these footprints static on the right-hand side, and then you've got left, right, left, right, left, right on these steps. On the left, what's happening here? Where to walk? One side to walk, one to stand. Exactly. Where to stand and where to pass. That's exactly it. You're not being told, you're being nudged. This is a fascinating one. This is, if you look on YouTube again, and I think, who was it? Heineken or Volkswagen, in a few cities, they looked at the various undergrounds, metros. They saw where they had escalators. And what they did was they overnight, they fitted piano keyboards on the steps so that when you step on them, they'd make the sound. So if anybody's seen the Tom Hanks film Big, it's kind of like that, big keyboard that makes a sound. What happened to the people on the escalators and the people on the stairs? Where did people choose to go up and out or into the subway? Tell me which way they went. Aaron, more people used the stairs. Stairs, Charles, thank you. That's 2 for stairs. Anybody else? Andrea, downstairs, up escalators. That's an interesting perspective. I didn't expect that. Thank you. More people using stairs. People wouldn't walk as fast though. True. Skates go up and stairs down. Chopsticks are out. Absolutely, absolutely. So what they found, up and down, was that people used the stairs 70% more than the escalator, up and down. And who said about the time? Yeah, Fraser. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Loads of people were taking the time to go, as this chap's doing, going up and down and just making tunes out of it. But they were making some fun. Now, it may have been, and this is where we're going to finish. It may have been, and this is a city negotiating with its citizens. So this is the scale that nudge theory or negotiation works on. The city negotiated in this instance with its citizens. Why do I say that? Why does it help a city to have a piano keyboard that makes sounds on steps where there are escalators? Why does it help the city? Daniel, health and safety issue if someone falls playing the tune. Yeah, there might be. Yeah. Let's move on swiftly from that one. Most people don't. Let's go with the vast majority of people do not fall down. But yeah, that's it. Why did the city do that? What benefit is it to the city? Power savings, and 100%. Absolutely power savings. Less travel on escalator, less maintenance. Correct. Here we go. Better health of citizens, less stress on healthcare, public health benefits. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you, Daniel. And this is what we call smart city thinking. This is the smart city projects that we're seeing built. There's a huge project in Saudi, the NEOM project, the kilometer high city that's actually, they've started to clear the land and everything for it now. It's phenomenal. Smart city thinking. They negotiated, they went far beyond the problem. So it relates back for those of you that were in my first session. What's the problem? Too many citizens, too much strain on our healthcare. Right, that's not the problem. The problem is we're not helping our citizens stay fit or to get fitter. So what can we do? Well, let's stick a few keyboards on and that will help more people get fitter. That way, there'll be less obesity, There'll be more physical fitness. There'll be less respiratory illnesses. So there'll be less people needing resources, coming to hospitals and healthcare services on the resources that are already incredibly stretched. Does that make sense to everybody? How about that? So really interesting. So this nudge theory, it's used on you everywhere. I'm going to leave you with this one. Let me have a quick look, see if there's anything else. Encouraged to move, better health. Thank you very much. Speedy walking persons. Yeah, perfect. Okay. So I'm going to leave you with this thought, and I'm just going to stop the share. There we go. Check the time. Yep. So we're bang on time. Excellent. Okay. So just very quickly, when you go into a supermarket, you're faced usually, not all the time, not every supermarket, but the vast majority of supermarkets have fresh produce in the first aisle. So they have fruit and vegetables. I'd love to believe that supermarkets care about us so much that they want us to have a healthy lifestyle and eat more fruit and veg. But unfortunately, having worked behind the scenes in things to do with the retail sector, I know that they care more about their profits. And why they have fruit and veg? Because you're being nudged to buy that first. So why? Because it's perishable, because it's one of the largest contributors to wasted profit for a supermarket. And where is the good stuff? Where's the drink? Where's the wine? Where's the booze? It's always at the back. Where's the bread? It's always at the back. You always have to walk through the good stuff to get there. So we've been nudged for years. You are being nudged. You will be nudged. My question, my thought to leave you with, how can you nudge other people and not just negotiate with them, not compete, not collaborate, not compromise? How can you nudge them to achieve your win-win? That's the thought that I'd like to leave you with. So this brings us to the close of our presentation. We've finished with about 30 seconds to go, which is amazing. So any last questions, please put on the Q&A. Apart from that, if you're good to go, I'm good to go. Thank you so much. It's been brilliant having you here, and I hope to see you all again. Thank you.